everything that led me to kill this big boy. And I'm not in trophy whitetail territory. I don't have hundreds of thousands of acres. This big buck was killed on a 10-acre piece. Do the work, food plots. So if you guys are serious about improving your hunting property and getting the most out of it, plant some fruit trees. But I don't care what kind of trees. Some people argue what's the best, whether it's a pear tree, apple tree, crab apple. Just plant some fruit trees. You know, it's springtime, it's the time to get these in the ground. I'm gonna put a link to my local tree nursery here in Wisconsin. Also some nurseries that ship out some trees, so you guys can take a look at ordering some bare root fruit trees. So this apple tree is now about 8 feet tall behind me here, and I just planted it last year. These apple trees had fruit their first year. And I got these bare root apple trees for $35 a piece. I got crab apple and kefir pear trees. They're looking at 8 feet tall already and 35 bucks a tree. Not that bad of an investment, guys. We're gonna talk about what kind of fruit trees to plant, how to plant them, how to take care of them, all things that are gonna improve your deer habitat, drawing more does, drawing more bucks, which is gonna lead to upping your chances of taking down the biggest buck in your neighborhood. All what this channel is about. If you guys are serious about chasing big bucks, this is a great channel for you. If you want to put the work in, my channel is all about doing habitat improvements, work you can do, how to hunt smarter to take down the biggest buck in your neighborhood. Something I try to do every year. Biggest buck I get on camera, I want to do everything I can to draw them to my property. Having a small hunt, 2 small family farms to hunt, I got to do everything I can on my property to draw in the most amount of does, most amount of bucks to take down that giant deer. So thanks for tuning in to Chasing Bucks with Nate's Bow Hunting. We're going to get to fruit trees this week, and what I do every April is I plant a bunch of fruit trees. I planted 30 last year, 10 at this farm, 20 at the other farm. Planted them all by hand. Super excited to watch these trees grow and see how they start attracting deer. So I know it's probably realistically going to be about 10 years before they really start attracting deer and drawing in deer and become big enough. But I'm looking forward to that day. It's like the stock market. The sooner you invest in these trees, the higher your reward in the end. We all know acorns, these big oaks, draw bucks, right? I got a bunch of big oak trees behind me. They definitely draw deer. Like I said, I planted 30 fruit trees last year, and I'm planting a bunch more this year. Draw deer from your neighbors. It's 1 week out of the year. Put the work in, spend a little money, and see the long-term investment. So remember that. I plant food plots every year. That's a immediate reward, 1 year reward. These are long-term. I wish I would have done it sooner. You know, you get busy, kids, work, etc. You can think of all the excuses in the world. The sooner you do it, the better off you're going to be, and your property is going to reap the rewards in the future, and your kids are going to benefit from it as well. So get some fruit trees in the ground. So the nice thing about planting trees is, guys, you don't need a tractor, you don't need a 4-wheeler, you don't need all the big equipment. You can grab a shovel and a little work, and you can get these trees in the ground. End of April projects before it's food plot season anyhow. It's a little too wet, too muddy here to start on food plot work. So it's a great time to start planting some of your trees. I am very fortunate. I planted 32 fruit trees last year. Every one of these fruit trees survived. And we're gonna go over that in the video here. We're gonna talk about how I planted these trees and how you take care of your fruit trees to ensure they survive. You do all the work, spend the money planting these fruit trees, you better take care of them. If you have lots of rabbits and deer like I do, you gotta cage them in. I also mulch them. And at the other farm, you can also do a tree mat. I mulched, fenced them in, and then I watered these a lot. We had a big drought here in Wisconsin last year, and I had a 100% survival rate on bare root trees, which is pretty darn good. I would have been okay if I had 5 or so die. All right, guys, just throwing a quick update on my apple trees. I did the Whitney and the Dalgo crab apple. Look at this. We got apples size of a tennis ball. This is first year bare root. Unbelievable. I planted 25 of these trees, the 2 farms I hunt this year, and real happy with how they're turning out. Got them caged in, got them wrapped down below for mice. And I got to keep the deer and rabbits off them, obviously. So we got a bunch of white oaks. Got to stand right up there. Bunch of white oaks. I planted all my apple trees. So we got a combination, pretty thick woods, of apple trees and white oaks all along here. Get the acorns dropping. Apple tree, big white oak, apple tree, trail camera. Looking good, guys, looking real good. Super happy with it. Apple trees are looking great. So, baiting deer not legal in the state you hunt? I can attest to that. What can you do to make up for that? Or if you got some neighbors that do bait and aren't following the rules, what's the legal bait in every state? Fruit trees. So I know these trees aren't going to give me any immediate reward. In fact, they're a lot of extra work. Taking care of them, pruning around them, making sure they're getting adequate sunlight. All things you got to do to ensure their survival. Chose crabapple trees and kefir pear trees because they're a little less maintenance than some of the apple trees. I wish I would have planted these trees 10 years ago, but I kind of had the mindset, oh, you know, I'm not going to benefit from them for 10, 15 years. Well, it's not the right attitude to have. I want you guys to drop a comment. Those of you guys that have planted apple trees, you know, when did you really start benefiting from them? Was it 10 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years? I'd like to know, because like I said, I just started planting these fruit trees last year, actually. So I'm gonna do an update of them. I just caged them off, actually. Use some Irish Spring soap, which is a temporary deer deterrent, which works really good. But I don't want that coming up on hunting season, even closer, especially not during hunting season, because deer will associate that with humans. Therefore, they will probably not stick around the area, at least in daylight hours. So, especially those big mature deer. Might fool some younger deer, but I fenced them all off, put a weed mat down below, keep the weeds off from growing. Been in the ground almost a month now, already getting some blossoms on them. Going to be almost better than food plots because they're going to take care of themselves every year. I'm not going to have to plant them. The deer are going to pick up on the fact that there's a line of 20 fruit trees where I planted them here. They're going to know that they can come here. I got kefir pear, Whitney crabapple, and Dalgo crabapple trees. So this kefir pear tree behind me here may not look like much now. In 20 years, time this little guy, 23 years old, that kefir pear tree is going to provide a lot of fruit and attract a lot of deer. So Dane's going to get to enjoy these fruit trees in 20 years when he's hunting. This pear tree behind him gets him a nice big buck someday. I got 3 boys. I want them to have the best hunting on this property they can, and think of me every time them or their kids shoot a big buck. Think of what I all did to this property to improve it. That's what it's all about, guys. The sooner you do it, it's kind of like the banker telling you to save money. Start your 401k when you're 18, because fruit trees are the same way, especially chestnut, oak trees, any tree. It's a long-term investment. And I got a bunch of mature white oaks here. Drop a lot of acorns. You're gonna have a bunch of acorns here as well as fruit trees. Super happy with the tree planting. Super excited to see the future, what kind of deer these trees bring in. The nursery I go through doesn't quite have the trees in stock yet. Usually end of April is when it gets all those fruit trees. So we're coming up on the end of April. So I wanna get this video out so you guys, hopefully I can talk you guys into planting some fruit trees on your property. Just like dumping a bucket of apples on the ground, but even better, because the deer, you're not leaving your human scent. Once these trees get big and produce, the deer can count on them being there every year. They'll find out where they are. Where if you're baiting, those deer, you can guarantee those deer are coming, smelling your tracks in, smelling your human scent around the bait area. And a lot of times those bait piles, just talking with some guys, I've done some land consultations, guys in like Ohio where baiting is legal, Why are my baiting sites nocturnal with the big bucks? Well, they're smelling you. Unless they're really desperate, hard up for food, they're smelling your access in, they're smelling around all that humid scent around the bait pile. They don't trust it during the day. They know just to visit that bait pile at nighttime, if at all. So these apple trees and pear trees are going to be a legal bait to bait in, mainly does. If you keep the does on your property, have a small property like myself, keep the does on the property, you got big bucks within a 3-mile radius of you. Come last week of October, first 2 weeks of November, prime time, those big bucks are going to smell those does. And you position your stands right, have the right access, have some fruit trees, it's going to be checkmate on that big buck. So legal bait, every state, right here, fruit trees. I don't care if it's apple trees, pear trees, chestnut, oak trees, I don't care what you're planting. This is your legal bait right here. And it keeps coming back every year. Plant some fruit trees this April, grab a shovel. I plant a couple hundred trees a year. I've rented a bobcat with a big auger. But these fruit trees I did all by hand with a shovel. So a little bit of work, long-term investment. You can reap the rewards, guys. All right, guys, we're at the back of my property here, and we're gonna check out all these fruit trees I planted. I planted 10 of them here last year. We're gonna check them out. We got one right there. I spaced them out about 25 to 30 feet apart. Sounds like a good spacing. So if you need to get some cross-pollination, we did about 25 to 30 feet apart from each other. You can see I wrapped the trunk in tubes. If you guys haven't checked out when I planted these trees, the video last year, make sure you check it out. Keep making sure they're getting the right amount of sunlight. I got a bunch of grapevines out here, so I got to make sure that the grapevines stay off them so they don't choke them out. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.